And we welcome you to Mountain View, California, and Alumni Gym at St. Francis High School for another production of West Catholic Athletic League Boys Volleyball on KMVT15 Sports. Tonight, it's the St. Francis Lancers hosting the Valley Christian Warriors on senior night. As we take a look at the WCL standings, you can see Bellarmine atop 11-0. They've already clinched an outright title in the WCL, snapping St. Francis' 4-year reign. As we welcome you to our broadcast on a Thursday night. He's Mike Mester. I'm Jack Benjamin. And Mike, well, second meeting of the season between these two teams. A 4-set win the first time around for Valley Christian on March the 26th. And St. Francis, if they didn't already have revenge on their minds, also their senior night.
And what could be better? You have 6 seniors on this squad. This is the last time they're going to be playing in this gym against this Valley Christian team. The emotions are going to be very high. It's going to be a very intense game tonight, Jack.
And you mentioned 6 seniors for St. Francis. One of them is Buddy Scott. He's a transfer from Punahou in Hawaii, so missed the first part of WCL play, but he has been terrific at the center spot. And you can see them wearing the lei, a tradition here for St. Francis. It works because he's from Hawaii.
Well, it makes perfect sense that he'd be wearing the lei. One thing that you didn't mention is that he's actually a left-handed setter, which is a very rare thing in this league and in this area. So that almost gives them a new dimension to their offense, and it's going to be fun to watch tonight, him and his teammate James Deneen. I mean, you have a lot to say about him, don't you?
Yeah, Deneen is not a senior. He's a junior. He obviously, though, plays older. We've talked about it all the time. He plays older than being a junior would indicate. About 3 kills a set for him, and he has been sensational at the outside hitter spot.
He's got 215 kills on the year, Jack. I mean, that's just amazing. That's something like 6 times the national average. He also leads the team in serving aces. He's got well over the national average on that. He's probably the single biggest, most versatile tool that St. Francis has tonight.
Meanwhile, for Valley Christian, we don't want to neglect them. They won 4 sets last time around. These two teams matched up, and the key for them is the man in the middle, Grant Dupuis. Only a sophomore, but he's been sensational. Had 3 blocks the first time these two matched up, and they'll need him again tonight in the middle.
Well, he's got, as you said, he did very well in the last game against St. Francis. He's leading the team, 21 blocks. That's far and away the best of any statistic for blocks that the Warriors have. And the Warriors do have the advantage of knowing that they've bested this Lancer team once, and they don't have a bad road record. So it's going to be fun to see how the emotion of the Lancers plays against the experience of the Warriors.
This past March, it snapped a 19-game losing streak for Valley Christian with their 4-set win over St. Francis. They'll try to get 2 in a row tonight for the first time since 2005 against their WCL counterparts. It's the Valley Christian Warriors and the St. Francis Lancers next on KMVT 15 Sports.
We're a mobile massage company, and we bring massage therapy and yoga to the corporate workplace. We started this business in order to bring more awareness to corporations for health and wellness. This is a nice perk that they can offer their employees, and it says, hey, we care about your well-being. We look forward to bringing massage therapy and yoga into your corporate workplace.
And we welcome you on a Thursday to Alumni Gym at St. Francis High School as we get set for this volleyball matchup, the conclusion of West Catholic Athletic League play. It's the Valley Christian Warriors and the St. Francis Lancers as we take a look at the WCL boys volleyball standings. You can see Bellarmine at the top, 11-0. They've wrapped up an outright title for the first time in 4 years. St. Francis had won the last 4. You can see them at 2-8 and Valley Christian at 4-7, but still plenty to play for these two teams here today on the senior night for St. Francis. Why don't we take a look at the starting lineups first? For the visitors of Valley Christian, they come in overall at 19-13, just 4-7 in league play. And they start with the couple of middles. We spotlighted Grant Dupuis in the opening. The sophomore middle blocker has been terrific. Justin Mayer, a senior. He's one of 2 seniors in the starting lineup. Aaron Schur being the other at the outside spot, along with Tyler Hudson. And then Jackson Stewart is the opposite. And Alex Turturici is the center. Andre Dumitrescu is the libero. The head coach is Moni Tautu in her 3rd season at the helm for the Warriors. Meanwhile, for St. Francis, it's been a down year by all stretches for a team that had won about 111 games in their previous 4 seasons. 10-18 this year, 2-8 in league play. That's 6th. It'll be their worst finish in 7 years. And they look like this, the couple of middles, Thomas Lawler and Dylan Nguyen getting the start. And then James Deneen, the outside, we spotlighted him, the kills leader on this St. Francis team. Mateo Fontana, also an outside. Christian Cortez is the opposite. Buddy Scott, one of the seniors on this team, leading them in assists, of course. Then Tony Lee is the libero head coach. Jonah Carson in his 3rd year at the helm. And with that, I bring in my partner here, Mike Messner. Mike, when we look at this matchup, on paper, both of these teams have really struggled, but you know emotions riding high on a senior night especially. What does St. Francis have to do to even up this season series after a 4-set loss about a month ago?
What St. Francis has to do, among other things, is not be vulnerable to the killing attack that Valley Christian threw at them last month. We were talking about this before we went on the air tonight, that they managed to pull off 36 kills against the Lancers on March 26th. The Lancers can't allow that to happen again. They're going to have to do much better on blocking, much better in digging those spikes out, and consistency in serving. We'll talk more about that as we go on.
Yeah, these two matched up back on March the 26th, the 4-set win. It was 1-1 after the first couple of sets, and then Valley Christian really just taking over down the stretch. 25-19 and 25-17 the scores in the last couple sets. And we saw this St. Francis team, Mike. We've had the pleasure of seeing them a couple times, but we saw them last Tuesday against St. Ignatius. They started off very slow. 3rd set was close, 25-22, but they need to be a lot faster at the start, you would think, here tonight.
Well, faster, and they need to have more variety in their offense, too. We'll get back to that.
Alex Turtle Richie is on serve for Valley Christian. We are underway in the final meeting of the WCL season for both of these teams. And very quickly, Thomas Lawler gets things started for St. Francis.
And there's that versatility in that setting game that they have. Setting it backwards worked well for him.
Lawler did not play last week. He was sick. He's one of their starting middles, and he serves into the net. We're tied at 1 in this first set. We play best out of 5. If there's a 5th set, it'll go to 15. Otherwise, sets to 25, win by 2. Aaron Schur is on serve, senior. And there's a kill off the middle. Again, it's Dylan Nguyen this time. He got a late start. And he puts that one down, a 2-1 lead early for St. Francis.
And that's what, and notice that you said middle there, Jack. Okay. Against St. Ignatius, they tried to go at the post, both sides. Didn't work against the St. Ignatius defense. They're varying it already.
Buddy Scott playing his final game at home, at least, in a St. Francis uniform. Of course, his first year transfer from Punahou, and there's a net violation. Give the point to St. Francis. 3-1 early lead for the Lancers. It's been a down year by all stretches, and if you talk with Jonah Carson, he says, hey, we just haven't really had the horses in a sense. They lost the 2-time WCL Player of the Year early on in terms of Jerron Nelson. Kept alive for Valley Christian, and just sneaking that through is Tyler Hudson, sophomore outside hitter, leading the team in kills.
Well, that loss of Nelson was a dramatic one, but to be fair, it's given a chance for Buddy Scott and James Deneen to step up and become the volleyball players that this team has needed them to be.
Dupuy on serve for Valley Christian, down 1. A free ball here for Valley Christian, back setting it on, and off the block, a job by St. Francis to keep it alive. Cortez, how about the angle on that one, Mike, to put it away?
Well, that was something that they didn't do last Tuesday, Jack, against St. Ignatius. They had a much wider angle when they tried to go from the post down to the floor. This one was much sharper.
On serve, James Deneen, the aces leader on this group with 25, but he also leads them in errors by 10, and that one sails well long. Back within 1 for Valley Christian. Jackson Stewart subs in to serve at the opposite. He was initially slated to start. Late scratch from head coach Moni Tautu. Here's Dylan Nguyen again from the middle spot. And early on, how about the junior? Couple of kills.
Well, Jackson Stewart's a sophomore, not a small guy, but still learning how to play in a varsity level.
5-3 the lead in this first set for St. Francis. First time around, these two matched up. Valley Christian won the first set 25-22. Here's Hudson, denied. Thomas Lawler, boy, he's a very big addition back into the lineup. We mentioned he was sick last week against St. Ignatius, and that made a difference.
Well, he's obviously taken all of his vitamins because he's ready to go. And the Lancers have about as big a lead right now as they had against St. Ignatius all night long.
Tony Lee, the libero, floating it over. They set the middle this time, and good job defensively for St. Francis. Fontana, roll shot into the net. And that stops 2 in a row, the run for St. Francis. 6-4. Tyler Hudson back to serve, the sophomore. Brings a lot of excitement to this team. Their coach Moni Tautu telling me earlier. And another set, this time for Lawler. And boy, he's been active early on, Mike.
Well, Hudson probably has the best passing average on the team. He's got more aces than anybody else on the team right now. So how he continues to develop will be something to see.
Christian Cortez will serve. 7-4, the early lead for St. Francis. It's been a good start for them on their senior night. And just a free ball here. Chance for St. Francis to extend their lead, and they do just that with Lawler again.
Tommy Lawler, 6'5", 200 pounds.
Yeah, we referred to him as Thomas earlier. I think he goes by Tommy based on the PA announcer here.
I was just going by what the announcer said, yeah.
Here's a set out wide and another block. Buddy Scott, I believe that time, getting up on the double block.
And that's another thing that the Lancers are showing tonight that they didn't before. They have a lot more in the blocking department. I think they learned something from their defeat at the hands of St. Ignatius a few days back.
3-0 run for St. Francis to go up 9-4. Largest advantage early on until now. Down the line for James Mayer, the senior second-year captain.
Tony Lee's just kicking himself. Didn't see that coming, was not set up well to handle it.
Josh Zarnall will sub in and go back to serve. Only one ace coming in, and that went into the net. His 12th service error of the season makes it 10-5, the early advantage for St. Francis.
Zarnall, this is his first year on the varsity, so another player tonight that's still learning his trade.
So Fontana subs out. Scott playing one of the middle spots right now, and the serve, well done that time. Rolled over by Jonathan Silva. Here's Scott. Oh, great dig that time from the libero, Dumitrescu. A free ball over for St. Francis. Scott out wide, Deneen crushed it into the rafters.
Oh my goodness.
And the largest lead of this first set for St. Francis at 11-5.
We're gonna see whether that angle, and a timeout called now, I think. Probably by Valley Christian.
Yeah, Valley Christian and Moni Tautu trying to stop the momentum. An 11-5 start for St. Francis. About all you can ask for here, Mike. They're playing aggressively, they're playing unpredictable, and they've got a 6-point lead.
And you can see the smiles on their faces. They're happy with what they've seen so far. They're communicating, they're not tripping over each other. This is a different team from what we saw last week.
And we can see Moni Tautu right there in her third season talking to her group. So you're on the road, you're playing in a hostile environment. It's the other team's senior night. And, well, if that wasn't enough, this team has beaten you. Well, you've beaten this team once and did it at home. Now they're in their home gym. What's she telling her group here to try to settle them down?
Well, she's going to tell her serving circle, look, you can't give away unforced errors to the Lancers because they'll just eat them up with a spoon. So that's one of the things they're telling them. And she's also reminding them, look, this is a team we've played before. These are players we've played before. We have won 3 games on the road. Let's show them what we're made of.
I mentioned Valley Christian, that win on March the 26th, their first in about 9 years against St. Francis. It had been March the 12th of 2009 last time they'd beaten them.
That's a very long time.
19-match losing streak ended earlier this year. They go quick, and Dupuis off the top of the net and down to stop the little run developing there for St. Francis.
St. Francis is still trying to get their blocking game together, at least on a consistent basis. They've had flashes of it tonight. We'll see how it goes.
Here's Turtle Richie on serve. Up in the air for Scott. Back set, Lawler again. Third kill here in this first set.
Now, Lawler's known for playing on the right side, Jack, so he's right at home where he was just now, and he picked his spot and put it down there.
12-6 lead for St. Francis in this first set. Trying to stretch their largest lead so far, and a misplay there in the back row from Tyler Hudson, and this one just bumped over and out. Sails long.
Yeah, that was well done just to handle that ball at all, to be honest with you.
Hudson had a lot of trouble with that serve from Lawler. These came out in a big way, and that one into the net. So 13-7. Back to serve for Valley Christian, Aaron Schur, as Lawler comes out. And Dylan Nguyen comes back in. Floats it over. Scott setting the middle. Good attempt on the dig from Aaron Schur, but just too much pop on it from Dylan Nguyen.
Nguyen's been doing wonders with the work he did this season. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Junior, he's got one more year. A very quick jumper, Mike, and he can set on display right there.
That's right.
As Scott serves. Lefty floating it over. They sit out wide this time, and how about the block from Deneen on Jackson Stewart?
And that's where you can see the improvement. It's not perfect yet, but their blocking game has come a long way in just a very, very short time. Very impressive.
2 in a row for St. Francis to stretch to an 8-point first set lead. Another good serve from Scott. Bump set for Stewart, blocked again and tipped up in the air. Stewart tipping on the joust with Deneen. Lee up high in the air for Deneen again, and that one is blocked out. James Deneen, good job to reset himself. Really good footwork there from the junior, Mike.
Well, he's a true athlete. Not only is he a competitive leader, he's also a tight end and a linebacker for this St. Francis football squad.
You can see it on display right there. Good lateral quickness. Another bump set. Shore in the back row. Lee out wide. Cortez was a little too close to the net for him to handle. Another back row swing for Shore. Up in the air. Scott, quick set. Oh, good job. How about the craftiness again of Dylan Nguyen? Third kill of this first set.
Yeah, it's an amazing effort there by Aaron Schur to try to dig that out, but not quite enough on it.
The lead double digits for the first time for St. Francis, and another timeout called by Moni Tautu and Valley Christian. 17-7, Mike, in this first set. As we look again at the Valley Christian huddle here, well, they've been out of sorts in the early going, and I have to say, as much as it's, St. Francis dominating, Valley Christian hasn't played that poorly. St. Francis is just hitting on all cylinders right now.
Well, they've obviously practiced very smart in the past few days. They looked at video. They've looked at what the mistakes they made against St. Ignatius. They pulled together as a team, and then that intangible, Jack, which is the emotion that goes into a senior night. These guys want to go out on a high note.
St. Francis, I mentioned, a down year for them, 10-18. 2-8 in WCL play. This is a group, Mike, that had 3 straight 34-plus win seasons in their last 3 years. It's been a down year. They lost 7 starters from last year, had to replace everyone, and maybe finding a little bit of footing here at the end of the year, and now have some young guys who are going to come back from next year if you're Jonah Carson.
Well, not to pile on with St. Francis, but they are 1-6 at home this year, so especially disappointing.
Have to protect your home court, especially in WCL play, and that went off the ceiling. And Shore sends it long. Now there's one where the serving again of St. Francis and Buddy Scott doing a good job getting that ball deep into the liberos and the defensive specialists of Valley Christian.
When you're playing backwards and off the ceiling, you just got to hit that thing with everything you have and pray it goes somewhere.
11.
You're flying blind.
11-point edge.
Oh, my goodness.
That's the kind of first set it's been for St. Francis. It's a couple of serving aces in a row for Buddy Scott. And now 6 straight points for St. Francis to take a 12-point lead.
I have never met a server who tried to get a net cord like we just saw from Buddy Scott. You just play those percentages, and if it happens, you take the money and run.
I mentioned a transfer from the Puna House School in Hawaii. His dad was the president of the school and retired last year and moved over here to California, so he had a chance to play 1 year with the Lancers. And outside the antenna that time for Cortez.
Well, Buddy Scott's also got some USA development pipeline experience. So it's not simply the fact that he's got the natural athleticism. He's got a little bit of a pedigree, too.
Here is Grant Dupuis on serve. 10 aces coming in. Scott for Nguyen, and a good job on the block that time by Stewart. Here's Deneen sailing it long. Double block of Stewart and Mayer, a couple of the taller players on Valley Christian, 6'6" and 6'4" respectively, did the job that time, Mike.
Nguyen was just amazing there. He just floated in the air for about half a second during that last exchange.
Dupuy into the net that time. And the serving for Valley Christian hasn't been very sharp early on. 20-9 in favor of St. Francis.
Well, you know, we were talking about that the time that they played against the Lancers on March 26th. They came in, they got 5 aces, but they gave away 10 serving errors in that game.
Here's Deneen. He's already got 1 serving ace today. Bumped over on a free ball, and that one is on the line for Nguyen.
Nguyen is just a master of this net. I mean, that might as well say made in Dylan Nguyen.
He's only 6 feet tall too, Mike.
But what a jumper. That's got to be at least a 36-inch vertical jump.
Well, it's the NFL draft today. You could go by the combine and we could figure out for sure what his vertical is.
Oh, the NFL, I think we got to get him on the Olympic high jump team.
Serving in the net that time for Deneen. Makes it 21-10. Jackson Stewart goes down the line that time. Out wide, Fontana, and just wide. We've talked about Fontana a little bit. First year with the varsity as a basketball player, still learning the game, and that's the type of shot where he's still got another year to grow as a junior. That's something you figure he'll get down this time next year.
But I'll tell you this, Jack, what Fontana lacks in experience, he makes up for in just an amazing vertical jump. He's a quick jumper. And a lot of times that can be the deciding point when you're in a rally against a team like Valley Christian.
The Valley Christian a couple moments ago was down 12, little 3-0 run to get back within 9. Scott sets the middle again for Nguyen. Dylan Nguyen, the junior, doing it all in this first set, 22-12. Tony Lee, libero, back to serve for St. Francis as they inch closer to a win in this first set. Back set, popped up in the air. There's a bump set from Dumitrescu out wide for Hudson, and a beautiful roll shot to sneak one over for Valley Christian.
Great attempt there. Valley Christian, they had 34 assists against St. Francis the last time this team played. Hudson and Schur were the best servers.
Yeah, Hudson, couple aces last time around, but he sends that one into the net. And we've talked about it, Mike. Those service errors late in sets are really killers when you're trying to make a comeback.
Well, we've already said, I mean, they made 10 serving errors, but they've made 10 or more ball handling errors 6 times in West Catholic Athletic League play this year. Not an impressive statistic.
10 service errors last time around for St. Francis in their 4-set win back in early March, and there's an underneath violation on Valley Christian. So it's set point now for St. Francis, 24-13 in what has really been a dominant first set. They've led it by as much as 12, and a chance to get that margin right here on the hand of Yang on serve, Corey Yang. One of the seniors playing in his final home game. Hudson bumps it up in the air, and a good quick job of putting it home for Alex Turtorici.
So the Warriors are not going to go quietly. And Turtorici, this is his first year as a starting setter, but he's the second on the team in aces. So there's a lot of volleyball talent no matter where you put him on the court.
Josh Zarinol will try to keep Valley Christian alive in this first set. Scott for Fontana. Back up in the air for Hudson. And Deneen, a good dig. Fontana again. It was tips. They'll have to throw this one over on a free ball. Here's Scott setting the middle. Tipped up in the air again. Good point developing here. One of our longer rallies. And that one going over the antenna. And I believe it went wide, and it did. And that ends the first set in convincing fashion. 25-14 for the home team, the St. Francis Lancers. We're coming back with the second set in just a bit on KMVT 15 Sports.
We're a mobile massage company, and we bring massage therapy and yoga to the corporate workplace. We started this business in order to bring more awareness to corporations for health and wellness. This is a nice perk that they can offer their employees, and it says, hey, we care about your well-being. We look forward to bringing massage therapy and yoga into your corporate workplace.
And And we welcome you back to Alumni Gym at St. Francis High School, where the Lancers take the first set at home 25-14 over Valley Christian as they try to even up this season series. And Mike, the blocking getting it done in that first set for the Lancers.
Well, that was something that we talked about coming in tonight, Jack, is that the Lancers had to be more consistent with their blocking. They didn't show that against St. Ignatius when we saw them last week. They're much more consistent now. It's not perfect, but it's also hard to argue with an 11-point deficit in the first set.
Yeah, these two matched up, we said, back in mid-March, and it was Valley Christian's blocking that led them to a 4-set win. 7 blocks in that match for them, Mike. That was one shy of a season high. And here tonight, they've had a lot of trouble on their defensive side. You can see head coach Moni Tautu talking with her group right now. What kinds of adjustments are you looking at for them in this second set?
Well, I think what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to take advantage of the spacing that St. Francis is using. The Lancers tend to cluster a little bit more towards the net. The Warriors are going to have to play the backcourt, and that's a much more difficult thing to do because the angles are going to be wider, you have less control of the ball, and you don't know how the Lancers are going to adjust because they're playing a much smarter game right now than the Warriors are.
As we get ready to start the second set here at Alumni Gym, in case you're just joining us, this is senior night for St. Francis. 6 seniors getting honored earlier. One of them not playing tonight is Gerard Nelson. He's the 2-time WCL Player of the Year. He's out for the year with a shoulder injury suffered in the first match of the season. He is headed to Princeton. They do have one other D1 commit on this St. Francis team. That's number 13 in white. Actually, both teams are in white here, Mike. But in white and I guess brown numbering is Buddy Scott. He's the setter and runner away here with the second set. And immediately, Valley Christian going to their star Grant Dupuis in the middle, and he gets a kill.
And Buddy Scott next year will be parking the car in the Harvard yard.
You were saving that all match, weren't you?
Oh, I've been saving it all week.
On serve is Alex Richie. He did have an ace in the first set. Here's Lawler, and that one blocked by Dupuis, and that is what he can do. He leads them in blocks, Mike, and exquisite timing on Lawler right there.
And for somebody, this is his first year as a starter, and you saw the emotion in his reaction. He's probably the most emotional member of this team, and all of a sudden, the Warriors up 2-0.
Dupuis, 18 blocks coming in. He's got a couple already tonight. And off the joust that time, Buddy Scott able to tip it over with the right hand, his offhand. So St. Francis gets on the board in set 2.
And I think Andre Dumitrescu just didn't know where that was coming or where it was going.
Lawler to serve it away, and an overpass that time. Easy pickings again for Dylan Nguyen, his 5th kill of the match.
And Dylan didn't really need to do much jumping on that one. He just picked his spot and took it.
Tied at 2 in the second set. Good serve again. They go out wide for Stewart and blocked by Scott, but it went wide. Now that's one of those where if you're so wide on the hit, Mike, the blocker doesn't really have a chance to keep that one in bounds.
That's a risk you're going to take every time you have one of those shots near the post.
And sails long off the serve from Jonathan Shui, one of the junior captains on this Valley Christian group. Tied at 3. Here's Buddy Scott.
Serving errors were a big part of the problem that Valley Christian had last time. Although they did come down with the victory, they made 10 serving errors as against only 5 aces. They're going to have to improve on that if they want to get a second win against the Lancers.
Back set for Stewart, and a beautiful job tipping it just past the arms of Deneen.
Jackson Stewart, who's just back from a knee injury, Jack.
Yep. Missed 3 matches in WCL play.
You wouldn't think it to look at him, though, would you?
No, he's looking spry and good. Deneen, a little bit of spin sideways on that one. They go for a back set to Shui, and just not enough on that one. Lower part of the net to tie us at 4.
You know, if you take a look at Jonathan Shui, Jack, he is maybe the most placid member of this whole team. If you look at Dupuis, he maybe is the most emotional. So I suppose you could say that Shui is the head and Dupuis is the heart of this Warrior squad. Good
job by Deneen on the serve, and now Nguyen floating it long. Well, the serve from Deneen was so hard, almost got a free ball off it, off the ceiling, and Valley Christian, Mike, doing a good job of handling the environment in a sense here at Alumni Gym.
Well, considering that they have played here and won here, and considering that the Lancers have lost a lot more than they've won in their home court this year, that makes perfect sense.
Cortez crushes one.
But here again, we have the score tied.
Yeah, tied at 5 in what's been a back and forth second set. 25-14 in favor of St. Francis if you're just joining us in set number 1. Tony Lee, the libero, serving. It's tough for the 6'6" Stewart to get down there, but did well. They set the middle again with Lawler and knocked up in the air. How about St. Francis to keep that one alive?
That's called improvisation. Right
Bump
there.
set for Hudson off the left post, and an outright denial from Cortez.
And the blocking goes on. That's exactly what those guys had wanted there.
2 in a row for St. Francis to take their first lead of the second set. Tony Lee again. They'll serve this one away. Senior captain. 12 aces to 21 serving errors coming in, make it 22 serving errors. Tied at 6 in the second set. Tyler Hudson. Jump serve and a good one. Scott in the middle for Lawler. How about the left-handed tick and then played back beautifully. Lawler, Scott, back set Cortez. St. Francis goes in front again.
That's the 3rd or 4th shot that we've seen that has gone beyond the boundary line. And more often than not, they haven't quite been able to handle it well. That time it wasn't too bad.
Christian Cortez has been very good early on. Floats a knuckler in here. Shui got up there and it was tipped, and yeah, net violation that time. Called, I believe, on Scott. Out of bounds, actually, they call it.
But I think it's a testament to the blocking ability of the St. Francis Lancers. Yeah, they got the call out of bounds. That's not what they wanted, but they also didn't want to give a spike up either.
Liam Hull, first time serving this match, defensive specialist. Here's Stewart. They set out wide for Shui again, and he's hasn't had the touch yet early on, and there's Buddy Scott. A quick hit and finds the hole in the defense for Valley Christian. 8-7 for St. Francis.
Did you notice that Shui kind of lofted that shot over the picket fence defense of the Lancers there? That may be the key to Valley Christian staying in this game, because they're certainly not going to win at direct shots at those big blockers.
Yeah, being unpredictable. That's what Jonah Carson always stresses with this group offensively. And there's a good job on defense for St. Francis. They deny Grant Dupuis. First time he hasn't really gotten what he wanted.
Now, Shui took a dive there. I'm thinking they ought to get him on the swimming team at Valley Christian, because he'll be around for at least one more year.
Another timeout called by Valley Christian. Moni Tautu again trying to stop momentum. Valley Christian down 2 here in this second set. They already lost the first set, 25-14. And, well, Mike, here she is again talking to her group. They just haven't really had a lot of answers yet. We saw a little momentum maybe building when they won the first 2 points of the second set. Since that point, St. Francis again turning on the fuel.
Well, this is the 3rd time that the coach has had to talk to her players, and they're still, I think, shuffling for answers at this point, because this is not the same St. Francis team that they played last month.
Yeah, it certainly isn't. They've had the great variation in their offense. And Dylan Nguyen has been, well, Dylan Nguyen's been terrific. We didn't see a whole lot of activity from him last time around. We saw them lose to St. Ignatius in 3 sets, but also Tommy Lawler, the addition of him back into this lineup. He was sick last week, and boy, he's given them a boost of energy for St. Francis.
Especially if you look at Lawler, okay, from the back row is when he's been doing most of his damage. And so if he can do that well from the back, let's see what happens when they rotate around.
So St. Francis has won the last 2 points to take a 2-point lead, largest so far for them in the second set. 9-7, they won the first set 25-14. And there's Tyler Hudson sailing that one wide. Out of sorts here for Valley Christian in the second set.
And that's disappointing for Tyler Hudson. I mean, he's the leader in kills, and that one was just a misplacement.
He's also got one of the higher hitting percentages on this Valley Christian team, right around a 200. Scott for Deneen. Sails long.
When you're that far away from the net, it's much more difficult to play a sharp angle. And when you're playing a wider angle or a more obtuse angle, you're more likely to send that into the stands, which is almost what happened. Went into the St. Francis student section almost.
Valley Christian has lost 4 matches in a row in WCL play, and there's another point for St. Francis. Tommy Lawler on the kill. 11-8 for the Lancers. Oh, untouched on the ace. A little miscommunication there maybe in the back row, Mike.
And that was Tommy Lawler. And I think that adds, but what is that, his 9th ace of the year?
Yeah, getting up there now. He's a really good all-around player. 25 blocks, 34 kills. Here's Shui off a couple of blockers and able to tool the block that time of Buddy Scott.
Christian Cortez made a game effort at that one. Got all 6'3" of himself, trying to get the one batted over the net. Not quite enough. And possession goes back to the Warriors.
Still waiting on one of those runs from Valley Christian. They haven't been able to string together more than 2 consecutive points yet in this match. There's 2 in a row. Grant Dupuis again, he's the one who's really gotten them going. You can see he's the Energizer bunny for this bunch.
And only a sophomore, and he's already the captain. He's just a bundle of energy.
Shui floating it over. Scott Deneen into the net.
What was that you were saying about a run, Jack?
3 in a row, and the timeout for St. Francis. You're right. Well, they must have heard me, huh?
Well, no, you were right. They were calling for a rally, and lo and behold, there it goes.
So a timeout taken here by Jonah Carson in his 3rd season now at the helm for St. Francis. As we spotlight him a little bit, this is a guy who took over a program that was incredibly successful. He took them to new heights in a sense. They won a NorCal title with him. Last year's CCS D1 champions for the 2nd time in 3 years, but this is the first time this group that he's had has really seen adversity. I mentioned coming in, Mike, they had 3 straight 34-plus win seasons, and this year he loses all of his starters, has to do some digging. You lose early on the 2-time WCL Player of the Year. He's filled in admirably, just not quite enough in the tank for this group this season.
Well, to be fair to him, he really was dealt a really difficult hand, not only with the people he lost because of graduation, but injuries, with the perils of being a relatively new coach, and yet the Lancers have won 10 games this year.
Yeah, you look at St. Francis and what they've done in past years. I mean, it's remarkable. Last year, 34-3, 11-1, 35-6 in his first year, 12-0 in league play. They have lost 1 WCL match in 4 prior years coming in. Here they are 2-8 this year, but a lot of returners, at least presumably for next year, and you'd figure they'll be back in a big way. Here's Shui tipping it over for Valley Christian. The Warriors, by the way, back within 1 all of a sudden. They were down in this set by as much as 3.
Good sharp angle there on the return by the Lancers.
Off the head of Stewart, and then tipped over by Scott. Back set Cortez, and another block. Looked like Dupuis got that one again. Tied at 12 now here in this 2nd set.
I think it was Dupuis. You were talking about St. Francis almost being a victim of their own success. When you get to have that level of achievement and you can't keep it consistent, if this were the pros, you'd have to deal with a fan base problem.
And
but this is St. Francis High School, and they are loyal.
And how about the serve from Jonathan Shui on the line? 5 in a row for Valley Christian, Mike, to take a 1-point lead in the 2nd set.
Jack, is this the first time that Valley Christian has led in this game so far?
Well, they won the first 2 points of the set. Here they are now back on top. Let's see if that one comes back. I was thinking maybe it hit 3 different parts of the rafters. I don't think our screen can quite do justice how high this gym goes with the rafters, but.
Well, it ended up in somebody's lap up in the balcony. Let's probably just leave it there.
Yeah, souvenir for somebody. Tied at 13. And number 13 on serve for St. Francis, Buddy Scott. Turner Richie, back set. Dupuis. Able to tool the block of Nguyen and Deneen, and able to put Valley Christian back in front by 1.
You know, if he's not the team leader in kills by the end of this game, he should be, because he's certainly doing a fantastic job on that front line.
10 kills the first time these two matched up in early March. And that time, boy, Mayer was there. James Mayer just couldn't handle it. It was a little bit lower, I think, than he thought it would be on that block.
Yeah, he would really like to have that one back, because he's got the best hit percentage on this Warriors squad. And he's just thinking to himself, that was a rookie mistake, and I'm not a rookie.
Hits it at 290. Richie for Stewart, and pounds it home.
With authority.
Jackson Stewart on the kill at halftime, sophomore.
And I think that maybe his 12th or his 13th kill of the season.
Scott with a beautiful back set for Cortez and bumped over on a free ball. Here's Fontana, denied. And there's Mayer. We talked about his timing being slightly off a couple points earlier. Not the case there, Mike. Give a 2-point lead now to the visitors of Valley Christian here in this second set.
Well, his timing was perfect there, and you can't take away from the fact that that man is 6 feet 6 inches tall. So he is a tall drink of water.
Yeah, second tallest player on this Valley Christian roster. The tallest who plays significant points. They set the middle this time for St. Francis, and I'm surprised they haven't gone to that more here in the second set, Mike. Dylan Nguyen has been exquisite. 7 kills now in the match.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense that they wouldn't be going to the middle. One, because Nguyen is so good at that jump, and second, because playing the post has not been altogether successful for the Lancers this year.
Tony Lee, a good body serve, and St. Francis has to just dig it out. Pushed over by Deneen into the net. And now Valley Christian, the bench is active. A lot of energy now in the building. You can see them standing up.
There's
17-15 lead.
Not much Deneen could have done with that one. He was just presented with a bad ball, and he thought, I just better get this over any way I can.
Hudson missed the corner by a couple of inches. 17-16 in the second set. So Corey Yang back in. Christian Cortez sits. Yang, one of the better servers on St. Francis, came in with 11 aces. They could certainly use one here to tie it. Up in the air for Stewart. Richie out wide. Shui on the tip.
Did you see how high he got off the ground there?
Oh, yeah.
It's almost scary, the intuition that Jonathan Shui has, but you don't get to be a captain as a junior if you don't have some good intuition.
Yeah, I look down and you figure, every time I look at the roster, you figure it's a senior who's doing this type of things. He's only in his, so he is in his 3rd year now on varsity as that serve sails wide for Hudson. So 18-17. There's something to be said, though, for playing 3 years on the varsity. Even if you're not starting, you get the experience, you get live game action early in your career.
Well, if you're going to honor the seniors tonight, let's let the underclassmen do the work, right?
Here's Shui again, and that time denied. Bunny, Scott, and Lawler, and Scott give him credit on the block to tie us at 18.
Yeah, their blocking game from the Lancers has not been as consistent this particular set, but that was a good example of what it can be when it's good.
We've had 6 lead changes in this second set alone. Richie, back set for Hudson. Here's Deneen. Long, was it tipped? Yes, it was.
Did you see who got a piece of it?
Looked like Stewart got a finger on it.
Could be.
Not much. That's where instant replay comes in handy, but
Ain't it,
I don't
though?
think they quite have that yet for high school volleyball. They're getting there. 19-18 for the home team, St. Francis. And Dupuy on the other side wanted a tip, and now they give it to him. Wow, there's a couple in a row where you could have looked at them 5 more times.
Oh, my goodness. Well, there's another argument for instant replay, right?
Well, there's a situation where you figure the calls even out in a sense. One team gets one call, the other gets another.
Might call that inside volleyball.
Tied at 19. Big serve here for Richie, the junior. Off the overpass. Scott out wide to Deneen.
Straight and true.
Haven't heard from him a lot early on. James Deneen, junior captain. First year as a starter, the kills leader on this St. Francis group. 3%. Gives his team a 1-point edge.
And Deneen's an iceman. I mean, he never gets rattled. His demeanor is just so professional. That's the sign of a true athlete.
I thought you were going to say his demeanor. That would have been a good pun.
You're just getting back at me for the Harvard yard.
Of course. Give the point here to Valley Christian. An underneath violation, so tied at 20. This has been a really good back and forth, action-packed second set. In case you're just joining us, St. Francis taking set one, 25-14, and Buddy Scott trying to hit quickly there from his center spot. Good idea, just wide, Mike.
Yep. Unpredictability is something that St. Francis has had to learn, and that one was too unpredictable.
And I think that's a miss, though, that head coach Jonah Carson, he'll take that if you're Buddy Scott. Hey, my best player, trying to mix things up, why not?
Absolutely. You got the attitude right. It's 1 point, but you're still in this thing.
Here's Richie. Back set Stewart right into the block of Deneen and Nguyen, and James Deneen able to get one back for his team to tie us at 21 here in this second set.
Just the height disparity between these two. Dylan Nguyen, 6 feet tall, certainly not small. James Deneen is 6'5", and you wouldn't think that there was a millimeter of difference between those two.
Buddy Scott already a couple aces tonight.
Not that one.
22-21 for Valley Christian. Looking for a season sweep of St. Francis for the first time since 2004. They won in 4 sets at home March the 26th of this year, and back and forth these two teams go. Maybe nerves starting to play a role here down the stretch of this second set. Andre Dumitrescu into the net that time.
Well, the seniors in St. Francis, we've said a lot tonight that this is their night. This is senior night at St. Francis. So they've got emotions, and emotions are not always the best thing when you're playing volleyball.
Oh, Shui off the body. Looked like the left shoulder there of Deneen. If Deneen was able to get out of the way, Mike, that's long by 5 feet, but it was hit so hard he couldn't move.
Nope, he just never saw it coming. It's not a tactic that I would recommend to just beam the ball straight at somebody, because half the time they'll be able to knock it back at you, but it paid off that time.
23-22 for Valley Christian. And there's Hudson able to tool the block of Cortez and Nguyen. And now that sets up a set point to try to even this match for Valley Christian, and a timeout called by St. Francis.
Well, the Lancers are realizing that they're in a bit of a fight now because Valley Christian is beginning to see the cracks in the armor. They're beginning to see just now how they can get around that great blocking and that very consistent serving. And maybe it's going to pay off if they can take off the second set. That means they've got 1 apiece, and that means they're in a much better foundation to go into the third set than they would be if they were 2 down.
And Mike, we talked about Valley Christian coming into this match. At least we talked about them in the first set, 25-14. It was dominance from St. Francis. They've made adjustments. You talk about the blocking. You talk about the hitting. What's the key difference you've seen from them in this second set?
What I'm seeing with Valley Christian is that they're taking advantage of unforced errors that St. Francis has been throwing at them, and they're limiting their own unforced errors, both in serving and in ball handling. Their ball handling is much better in this second set than it was in the first set, where it wasn't bad, it just wasn't very good either.
Set point to try to even this match now for Valley Christian. Jackson Stewart, the sophomore, is on serve. That's a good one. Deneen able to handle it, though. Scott off the free ball. They set the middle that time, and a cut shot beautifully done by Mayer, but not enough for the kill. Richie, Mayer, and Deneen another dig. And how about Fontana to keep it alive with one hand? Mayer again, cut shot is wide left. Oh, man.
And St. Francis gets a break there. They had to do some real desperate ball handling to keep in that thing.
How about a couple of digs from Deneen? Just sensational for a guy who's an outside hitter.
He's all over the place tonight, Jack.
Tony Lee trying to tie this up. Another set point for Valley Christian. Richie out wide. Hudson up in the air for Scott. Back set Cortez. Off the ceiling. Handled well by Richie. Rolled over by Shui. Tapped. Oh, what a set by Buddy Scott. One hand side set for Lawler, and we're tied at 24 in this second set.
And Lawler could not have asked for a better set in that if he'd been in the Olympics. That was just a professional set, and one that you don't often see in high school volleyball, even among St. Francis.
Well, we've talked about Buddy Scott and the sensational player that he is, but how about Jonah Carson getting this guy? He basically got a couple emails, a couple phone calls in the summer saying, hey, I know you're losing a lot of players, but we've got a guy headed your way, a Punahou player from Hawaii. He's a Princeton, it was a Harvard commit, and he said, hey, I'll take him happily. And you can see right there why this guy has been such a highly talented recruit. It's the vision he has. We've seen his ability to put things down, but where he's at his best is setting and doing remarkable things, just like we saw to set up a tie second set.
That vision from the St. Francis coach, from Jonah Carson, he saw something, and it's one of those things you just can't describe when you're a coach. You get a gut feeling, you do a little bit of mental math, and you realize I can make this guy work.
Valley Christian had double set point at 24-22. We're tied at 24. St. Francis winning set one, 25-14. Here's Tony Lee to try to put St. Francis up by one and bring a set point to them for the first time in the second set. And wide of the antenna that time. And set point for St. Francis. How about 3 in a row at a crucial time?
Valley Christian is just giving that one away. A couple of mistakes there that they should not have made.
Chance for a 2-0 lead with Tony Lee on serve for St. Francis. Stewart, turn to Richie, setting the middle. And that's one way to hold off a set point.
And that is exactly what you want to do. You want to get a quick, fast spike with a very sharp angle. Nobody on the net to pick it up. Valley Christian's back in it.
James Mayer and his .354 hit percentage, the best on the team. How about the dig that time from Dumitrescu? Brilliant. And another one up in the air. Goes to Shui. Here's Scott, back set. Cortez wasn't ready for it. And that's a lift. Yeah, Jackson Stewart got caught up between wanting to bump it and wanting to overhand it, and another set point for St. Francis here, Mike.
Yeah, the Lancers are not going to give you a whole lot of time to make up your mind, okay? They're going to throw that ball at you, and if you don't know exactly what it is you want to do, you're going to lose a point.
Set point again, 26-25. Cortez floats it over. Turner Richie setting the middle. That's been their move on set point, and there's Buddy Scott. The senior comes up clutch twice. First, a magnificent set, and he finishes with a kill to give his Lancers a 2-0 lead. 27-25, 8 lead changes in the second set. We're coming back with set 3 in just a bit on KMVT 15 Sports.
We're a mobile massage company, and we bring massage therapy and yoga to the corporate workplace. We started this business in order to bring more awareness to corporations for health and wellness. This is a nice perk that they can offer their employees, and it says, hey, we care about your well-being. We look forward to bringing massage therapy and yoga into your corporate workplace.
KMVT Sports would like to thank our sponsor, Altos Mobile Massage. Massage can change your mental and physical state and inspire you to give power and energy to solutions. Altos Mobile Massage brings the massage to you. Sometimes a little pressure is a good thing.
Alongside Mike Messner, Jack Benjamin on hand, alumni gym at St. Francis High School. And it's the Lancers on top of the Valley Christian Warriors, 2-0, thanks to an impressive comeback win in that second set, 27-25 after a 25-14 first set. And Mike, again, activity from St. Francis. You can see a block there from James Deneen, but the activity down the stretch of that second set, brilliant from the Lancers.
Well, both teams were really leaving it all on the court on that last few series, Jack. St. Francis wanting to go 2 up on the Warriors, realizing that they've got some vengeance that they need to get from the game on the 26th. Valley Christian with a much better record, maybe not taking the Lancers quite as seriously as they needed to, and not able to really come up with an answer to the St. Francis attack, which has been everything it's needed to be. Low number of unforced errors, consistent defense, consistent serving, and an amazing blocking game by Deneen and Nguyen. That the third set, if they can hold it, if they can keep that consistency together in all phases, they're going to walk away in a straight set victory.
And I think a question here, too, if you're Valley Christian, is Can they come back mentally from what was a couple of set points they let slip away? Remember, they had them at 24-22. St. Francis wins 3 straight points. Valley Christian has to fight off a couple set points, and then ultimately your buddy Scott taking over down the stretch. We can't say enough about him, but Moni Tautu and her group for Valley Christian, you're 19-13 on the year. You've got 4 wins in WCL play. You have to take it 1 point at a time. How do you keep your group composed here in this third set?
I'd say Moni Tautu has to tell the Warriors, you have to go in and get that first run, okay? Go in like it's 0-0 and get the first lead, make it, I guess it'll be 2-1 and then 3-1 and then build on it. Now, I think that Jonah Carson has to tell the Lancers, look, we got 1 more to go. We can't pull out our tent. We can't stop now. We have to go back and continue to make things happen.
Can't get complacent. That's one of the hardest things. Any sport, when you're so close to victory, they always say the closeout game, the closeout set is the toughest one. Off the kill from Deneen, 1-0 St. Francis. And Tyler Hudson, we haven't heard a lot from him. He's been quiet. And a good job there from Hudson, the sophomore, to put that one away. Ties at 1 here in the third set.
Well, Hudson's got the best passing average on this Valley Christian team. He leads them in digs and kills and aces, and he's only a sophomore, so almost a child prodigy.
Good serve from Shui. It was low, and off the block of Stewart from Nguyen, it's out. 2-1 St. Francis. St. Francis coming into this match, having won their last one against Sacred Heart Cathedral Preparatory. That snapped a 7-game WCL losing streak. They're looking for a couple of WCL wins in a row for the first time this season. And again, Valley Christian having trouble on the serve-receive game now, Mike. A couple times they've bumped it wide of the antenna out of bounds.
It's unforced errors, and we've talked about that before about Valley Christian. And something that's even more galling, I think, to Moni Tautu is that if you look at the way these two teams play set by set through the season, Valley Christian scores more set by set than St. Francis does all the way along the line. And yet here the Lances are up 2 sets and up 1 point.
Grant Dupuis on the block that time. Brings Valley Christian back within 1. Andre Dumitrescu, the libero on serve. Deneen, a little low that time. He saw the, I believe at least he saw the 6'6" James Mayer lurking, and we're tied at 3.
Mayer was in the thick of it, but wasn't able to unleash his best haymaker.
Here's Scott out wide for Cortez. Another kill, his 5th of the match.
Christian Cortez, another senior, so this is one of his last games as a Lancer, and he's also a football player. So he's had 2 senior nights. This is going to be a year he's going to remember for a long, long time.
Hey, you've got 4 or 5 multi-sport athletes on this St. Francis team, and that one pounded home by Jackson Stewart, who gives a primal roar afterward.
Now, Stewart's having a lot of fun there, and I think he's also tired of the playing around that has happened. He wants to score some points, and he wants them tonight.
The one thing, talking with Moni Tautu earlier, Mike, she said, look, we've got a young group, but the good news is these guys are so young, they play with so much emotion. You know, some of the seniors, they've learned to keep their emotions in check a lot of the time. Obviously, playing with emotion can both help you and hurt you, but it's good in times like this when you're down 2-0.
Well, it also helps with the energy level, doesn't it? If you're a senior, you've got to worry about college admissions, you got to worry about SATs, you got to worry about letters of recommendation. Your life is being turned upside down. When you're a sophomore or a junior, you don't have those kinds of pressures.
So a 5-5 tie after Lee serves into the net there for St. Francis. Here's Tyler Hudson. If you're just joining us, scores in sets 1 and 2, 25-14. And 27-25 in favor of St. Francis. And a little confusion here from our judges as to who this one went off to, and our referee Diane Craner ruling it St. Francis's point.
I don't know if you saw Jackson Stewart was kind of saying, pretty please, can we have that point?
I don't blame him.
You know,
you need every point you can get when you're down 2 sets, Mike.
Well, you know, Jack, you talked about St. Francis. They have 6 seniors that are graduating. Valley Christian's only got 3. The rest of these young men are underclassmen. Sophomores or juniors. I don't see any freshmen on the team, but there might be.
No, yeah, you've got got 10 juniors and sophomores on this roster. They're only going to lose 3. And if you look at the players they're losing as that serve goes into the net, Mayer, obviously one of their captains, a huge loss. Sure has been good, but they return a lot of their offense for next year. So a lot to look forward to if you're Moni Tau to at the outside hitter spot and the blockers, of course. Dupuis only a sophomore. A lot of their star players only sophomores.
Yeah, Mayer, Sure, and Rafi is the other one who'd be graduating.
All right. 7-6 here in this third set. And that one's sailing well long for Jackson Stewart.
Hitting it down is always better than hitting it long when you're playing at the net.
8-6 in favor of St. Francis. We mentioned earlier, just 1-6 at home this year, and you can bet that not only will this be a sweet win to will make the record look a little better, but it being their senior night, so crucial that they get this win tonight as a kill put down that time by Turner Richie, the center.
Well, the emotions are going to be running high, but I think they're especially running high when they realize how close they are to closing out this game. So I don't know if they have to worry about complacency, because you've got 6 very determined, very hungry young men out there who want to finish their senior year in a strong way.
Scott with a picture-perfect back set to Lawler. He put it right where it had to be, and the result is another kill for Thomas Lawler, number 7.
And I think the other part of, you talked about emotions and being a senior, Jack. We're just a few weeks away from graduation at St. Francis.
Right.
So there's that inevitability and the realizing you want to finish strong. Graduation's not an abstraction for 6 of these kids. For Valley Christian, only 3 of them have that kind of emotional, what do you call that, catharsis?
Well, sounds right.
Okay. Our producer will tell us if I got that right later.
We got some confusion here on the rotation of the serve for Valley Christian, I think. So actually, they were debating whether Shui could be in the game. They do let him in as a sub. 9-7 St. Francis. We're in the third set here at Alumni Gym, St. Francis High School. Alongside Mike Mester, Jack Benjamin on hand, and also on hand is Grant Dupuis. He's been pretty good in this match so far, Mike.
Oh, Grant Dupuis has been the Swiss Army knife of these Valley Christian Warriors. He's second in kills. He had 3 of the 7 blocks the last time these 2 teams played. He's indispensable, and he's returning.
Oh, Dylan Nguyen. Scott sets the middle, and Nguyen makes bank again. 10-8 in favor of St. Francis in this third set. Here's Buddy Scott on serve. Couple aces for the senior from Hawaii. Transfer from the Punahou School. Turner Richie, and both teams trying to set the middle. That time Dupuis misfiring. All of a sudden, largest advantage of the third set. Either side, 3-point cushion for St. Francis at 11-8.
It says a lot about the ongoing determination of the Lancers to finish this thing and go home happy.
Scott with a floater short. Turner Richie did well to handle it, and then a roll shot from Stewart, saved by Cortez. Out wide to Neen. Tools the block of Dupuis and Stewart, and punishes home another kill.
And Deneen was never fooled. Even though there had been some bouncing around there, he was there from the very beginning. He picked his spot before anybody else knew it was going to go to him.
3 points in a row for St. Francis to take their largest lead of this third set at 12-8. Buddy Scott, that time a line drive. A lot of serve variations for the senior. And off the block of Cortez and Nguyen, out that time. The Valley Christian able to stop the 3-0 run. 12-9 in the third set. It is Andre Dumitrescu on serve. Lee, Scott, Cortez, deep.
Bit too long there. That was from Cortez, but I'll tell you something about Cortez. In addition to being a football player, he works equally well from the left and the right side. So I don't know if he's ambidextrous, but he certainly might as well be.
Serving errors, Mike, starting to catch up a little bit here with Valley Christian. Every time it looks like they're sneaking back into this third set. A serving error costly. 9 now for them in the match, and they had 10 the last time these two matched up. We've said 6 times in WCL play they've had 10 or more serving errors. 1 in 5 when that happens for them. They'll have to try to limit the damage here down the stretch.
Some of that comes from inexperience, Jack, because the more practice you have, the more your serving becomes almost an automatic reflex, just like shooting free throws in basketball. This team hasn't had, they're a young squad, as you said. They haven't had enough time to get into a groove as a team or in their serving game.
Hudson off a couple of blockers that time. Back set Cortez. And Fontana able to keep it alive. Free ball here for Valley Christian. Hudson. And wide. 15-10. 5-point cushion for the Lancers in set 3.
Again, experience. Tyler Hudson, a sophomore, hit it with the right amount of English on it, but in the wrong direction. Didn't pick his spot carefully enough.
Hudson that time able to convert. Tyler Hudson stops a little 3-0 run for St. Francis. 15-11 now. First set going to St. Francis 25-14. A back and forth second set where Valley Christian had a couple of set points at 24-22. Ultimately a 27-25 win for St. Francis. And that time off the blockers, it's Cortez. 16-11 now, Mike, for St. Francis.
You know, Jackson Stewart had that last serving series for the Warriors, and it seemed like he was just hoping to just swat it over. There wasn't as much drama or as much effort when you compare it to, let's say, Tony Lee.
Yeah, Lee is sailing wide. I think when you're down 2 sets, you're down 4 or 5 in the third set, you know elimination time is near. Maybe you get a little more conservative on that serve, but your team needs you, obviously, to try to produce the big jump spin serve.
Yeah, you're running out of chances to be conservative when you're down 2 sets and 4 points in the third.
Cortez long, so a couple of errors back-to-back here from St. Francis, keeping Valley Christian above water.
But Valley Christian can't rely on St. Francis making serving errors or ball handling errors. They have to earn some of these points.
Well, that doesn't help. Another service error, 10th in the match now for Valley Christian. Remember, we said when they get 10 service errors or more, 1 in 5 this season. The only win coming against St. Francis on March the 26th.
And that was probably, by the time they hit that number of errors, they'd probably built up a bit of a lead in terms of the set count.
And that was also a 4-set match. And this has only been 3 sets so far. They're up to 10. Season high for them, 16. Stewart, a good save off the dig. Here's Shui into the blockers and able to get the point. Just tipped off Lawler. Him and Scott were there for the block, Mike, just off on the timing.
Well, I think we've talked about youth, we've talked about experience, but fatigue may also be playing a role. I mean, these are teenagers. They've been up since early this morning. They had a full day of classes. Now it's headed towards 7:30 in the evening. Judgment's not going to be everything that it was, even with the kind of coaching that both these teams have.
Tommy Lawler put a lot of juice into that one. And the junior able to stop that little run developing for Valley Christian. 18-14 for St. Francis as they inch closer to a 3-set sweep here tonight at home. WCL regular season finale for both of these teams. Oh, beautiful back set there from Turner Richie. And how about the dig from Lee? Hudson pushes it over. Scott. And the set was a little off that time, just a free ball. Bump set for Shui. Roll shot. Dug well again. Low set that time for Lawler. Stewart. Scott for Lawler, too low on the set. Couple of times there for Buddy Scott. His set's just a little bit off, but that's all the margin you need to have the timing go just awry.
And that's very uncharacteristic of Buddy Scott. Usually he's got a great sense of altitude with his sets. And that time, just error in judgment.
18-15, a great serve off the body of Lee. Deneen off the blockers and then onto his own side. Dupuis and Stewart on the combo. 18-16. No, actually, they're going to give this one to St. Francis.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? A late call there, they give it to St. Francis. Now check me on that one. 19-15. The serve over from Cian O'Brien. Tipped over by Stewart. Here's Scott. Up in the air, back set Shui. And spins it long. Well, big momentum turn there. They say the tip on the previous point, Mike. St. Francis makes the 2-0 run. 20-15 now.
Now they've turned the corner. And you got to pull out all the stops if you're Valley Christian. Otherwise, it's going to be a short night.
Cian O'Brien seeing his first action here. He's a serving specialist for them. 3 aces coming in. And give him his 5th service error of the season there. 2016. St. Francis already leading 2-0. 25-14, 27-25, sets 1 and 2. Shui into the body of Deneen. Oh, a quick set for Nguyen. Well done, but Valley Christian not phased. And then Shui goes wide. That hurts.
And that's the 2nd time in a row that Shui has misfired at that close game towards the net.
21-16. St. Francis can taste it on senior night. Trying to even this season series with the Valley Christian Warriors, and Buddy Scott not helping the cause there. Another serve into the net. 6th service error of the match for St. Francis.
St. Francis has got to be a little irritated with those unforced errors at this point. They see that it's within their reach, it's just not within their grasp.
Does Valley Christian have one last gasp effort? Down 2-0. Here's Deneen. Turn to Richie, back set. Was a little off for Stewart, and Lee, good job to keep it alive. Scott for Cortez. He has been terrific. Christian Cortez playing his final home game here at Alumni Gym and gets his 8th kill. 5-point lead. Largest of the 3rd set for St. Francis. Turn to Richie up high. Hudson, what a dig by Lee. Fontana off the blockers and down. How about that defense from Lee? And then Fontana able to take advantage.
And they caught the Warriors napping, and I can't believe that they were that inattentive. You got to wonder whether they've just begun to realize this isn't their night.
23-17, 2 points away from a 3-set sweep for St. Francis, and a roll shot off the top of the net. It's 4 hits, and it's match point.
And the St. Francis crowd absolutely loves it, Jack.
It's been electric in here on senior night. Here's Deneen serving on match point. Turner Richie for Mayer, and Valley Christian stays alive, able to tool that block of Scott.
But again, they get a point on an error. They don't earn it themselves.
24-18, another match point for St. Francis. Lost in 4 sets to this very Valley Christian team in early March. Scott for Nguyen, off the middle. Bumps it from Dumitrescu, and Shui puts it over. Lee up high for Cortez. Tipped up in the air again. Hudson. Here's Scott, back set, Cortez. Off the blockers again, and good job to keep it alive by Valley Christian. Here's Hudson. Rolls on top of the net off the joust. Cortez again. Whoa, what a dig to keep it alive. Was it out of bounds? Yes! And St. Francis on their senior night gets a huge 3-set sweep, and they even up this season series against Valley Christian. What a set, what a match. And St. Francis ends their WCL campaign in style. We'll come back and wrap this one up on KMVT15 Sports. Again, your score in 3 sets. It's St. Francis 25-14, 27-25, and 25-18 over Valley Christian.
We're a mobile massage company, and we bring massage therapy and yoga to the corporate workplace. We started this business in order to bring more awareness to corporations for health and wellness. This is a nice perk that they can offer their employees, and it says, hey, we care about your well-being. We look forward to bringing massage therapy and yoga into your corporate workplace.
And back at Alumni Gym at St. Francis High School as we wrap up a 3-set sweep for the home team, the St. Francis Lancers. On their senior night, they defeat the Valley Christian Warriors 25-14, 27-25, and 25-18. And we welcome you back to our broadcast table. He's Mike Mester. I'm Jack Benjamin. And Mike, 25-14 first set. The second set really proved to be the momentum decider. A couple of match points for Valley Christian. They couldn't quite get it done. What'd you see in this match?
What I saw was a heartbreaker for Valley Christian. I mean, you really said that after the second set, it just killed the Warriors. I mean, they really didn't have any answers. And when they came back to the third set, you could see their faces were a little longer. They were a little bit more bewildered. They just didn't have any answers for a St. Francis attack that was consistent in all phases, in passing, in defense, in serving. There was just no stopping the Lancers almost from the very first serve.
A lot of people will look at this score and they'll think, oh, this was a domination effort by St. Francis, but really a lot closer. And we rolled the highlights here and check it out. James Deneen, one of the juniors, was terrific for St. Francis. And ultimately, just on the offensive side for St. Francis, clicking on all cylinders, including Christian Cortez.
Well, Christian Cortez led, I believe, the St. Francis attack, had 9 kills in the course of this. And we didn't hear as much about him in other games during this season, but it's really hard to argue with those numbers and with the performance that he had this year. So this is a night he can be proud of. And as far as the overall score, you had to be here to realize how good that second set was. Anybody who just looks at the numbers isn't going to get the full story.
A couple of really good defensive efforts from both teams there down the stretch. You just saw match point for St. Francis and the jubilation as they win on their senior night. And what was really a trying season for Jonah Carson and company, his third year. We talked about coming in 3 straight 34-plus win seasons for the St. Francis group. Not going to quite get there. They're going to have their first losing season in WCL play in 12 years, but a lot to be proud about. You have a lot of returners coming back and a really good, strong effort tonight from their 6 seniors.
This is a night that I think these seniors are going to remember because it was a straight set victory. It was exactly what the school needed after, as you said, a not as successful season. St. Francis also, of course, having a huge tradition of victory and athletic excellence. But if you look at the performance of their underclassmen tonight, yes, they're going to lose 6 seniors, but those underclassmen, they got a taste of what excellent volleyball is when they played tonight, and they're going to remember that when they're back next winter.
St. Francis 48-1 in WCL play the previous 4 years, just 3-9 this year, but that third win will be pretty special and we'll stick with them. Meanwhile, Valley Christian, who snapped a 19-game losing streak to St. Francis earlier this year in mid-March, will have to wait for 2 straight wins in a season series sweep of St. Francis. They still haven't done it since 2004. As we wrap this one up on KMVT15 Sports, a bunch of people to thank, including our producer, director extraordinaire, do-it-all man, Tyler Weiss. Tyler, a great job as always. And then, of course, our great camera crew, including Tim Erskine, who they list him as the truck driver here tonight. That is just, that's too good.
Tim, can you do the camera and drive
He's our do-it-all man. As big thanks, as always, to St. Francis High School and also Valley Christian. And a big thanks to the 2 head coaches, Jonah Carson and Moni Tautu. For my partner, Mike Mester, and everyone involved with KMVT15 Sports, I'm Jack Benjamin saying so long. Thank you, everyone, for watching all our productions of boys volleyball this year on KMVT15 Sports. Have a great rest of your day, and until next time, we will see you later.